Welcome back to the Eric Krown Crypto channel. Wishing you a happy healthy start to this Sunday morning over here and getting ready for a nice little macro video. So I wanted to first preface this whole video by saying this is not for short-term time frame analysis. There's going to be bounces. There's going to be all sorts of movements in the short term over the next few weeks that I'm sure will be very enticing. This video is not going to be addressing that. We're talking about very high term time frames today. That can be the monthly and whatnot. So other than that, I wanted to once again quickly correct my announcement for the Bybit promotion the other day. Bybit offering up $1,000 in Ethereum position if you deposit $1,000 USD. There is a lot of fine print with that. Check that out in the link in the description below. If you use that link, then you can, I suppose, get in that promotion. All right, sweet. So now that the shilling is over, let's talk about the clapping. Let's talk about the clapping of cheekies right now going on to the 2-day time frame chart. So I wanted to start off here. This is gonna be the lowest time frame that we actually look at today, and we've already beaten that damn daily horse to death. So that is still very much relevant if you've been watching like any of the videos for the past 3 weeks, it seems now. But I want to now put the focus on the 2-day time frame because that one is gonna once again open up tonight when CME comes online, and we'll update, of course, tomorrow morning as well. But there is a signal of brewing, similar to the one that we did see on the daily, but being that it is a 2-day, it is going to be significantly more powerful. What is the signal, you might be asking? It is a 2-day volatility versus stochastic momentum signal. Volatility represented by this metric that my cursor is currently trading right here. Stochastic momentum, obviously going to be this metric right here. Anyways, the signal is this. Anytime the 2-day stochastic volatility gets to extreme lows, which are defined as like definitely where we see it right now, definitely where we see it right now, but even just, you know, below this sort of region where my cursor is currently at, or sorry, where I'm kind of highlighted right here, the expansion phase from these extreme lows had led to an average move of 39.43% done over the course of 24.5 days, which is about 3.5 weeks. The stochastic momentum oscillator, this part right here, has gotten the correct direction on that volatility expansion for 87.5% of the time. The standard deviation that we do observe is 7.41, which does imply that 68% of the results that we expect from this sort of a setup should fall between 32% basically to all the way up towards close to like 47%. So what does that essentially imply? We're looking at a big fucking move, and a big fucking move likely to happen. Do we actually start to confirm this move coming into today, tomorrow? Maybe yes, but extremely likely into September, of which we're just a few days away from anyways. So what essentially would constitute this signal? Well, first things first, we need to see the 2-day stochastic volatility, this metric right here, get a positive slope. When that happens, that is when the signal is observed, and that is when we then look at the stochastic momentum oscillator as a governor of direction, or at least a highly probabilistic means of direction right here. Again, about 87.5% of the time it has been accurate on getting that direction. So as long as this is pointed to the downside, the probability remains that when we do see expansion, which might happen as soon as tomorrow, which again we'll update for tomorrow, it's more than likely, if we're talking about statistics, not certainties again, but statistics in this case, I would be looking for price action to initiate that downside move. The 2-day stochastic momentum oscillator will have downside pressure as long as Bitcoin is below 24,600 right here, as you can see. So as long as that condition is met, probabilities remain to the downside. Obviously, that number is again going to update upon open today, so I imagine it's going to come down significantly. So hey, there's still maybe a little bit of hopium, or there's obviously hopium until this signal is fully confirmed. But for right now, that would definitely make me consider a continuation of this downside move. Again, there's going to be bounces along the way, probably, kind of in that mid $19,000 region, probably somewhere around the current lows. But keep in mind that this move on average is going to take about 3.5 weeks. So that puts us into about the second week of September, which I believe is actually somewhere around the Ethereum merge or whatever the fuck that thing is, but it doesn't matter. Or maybe it does matter, but those sort of events typically not known to be bullish at the immediate moment. Over the course of the following months, probably yes. But in this case, let's play around with numbers here. So I actually want to be going off of the average move and then the first standard deviation. So if we're looking at the average move and we actually shave off some good old price action right here, 39.43%. That's a lot. That would put Bitcoin too far down, 13,200. So okay, that's kind of a lot. Personally speaking, I think that would be that I would not feel comfortable just calling a target based off of that, especially right now when the signal is not even confirmed. But if we were to look at the first deviation on the lower end, 32% basically, where that put Bitcoin, you know, $15,000 essentially. 47%, I'm not even going to put that into the fucking charts because that's way too far. that's just way too far right now. And I don't feel comfortable doing that. Anyways, that is it for the 2-day. Again, we might have confirmation on this as soon as open tonight on CME. If we see a positive slope on the volatility component of this, that would essentially put into motion the probabilities that Bitcoin probably does break down. Now I want to move on into the 5-day chart. This one's very important right now because it is also closing tonight alongside the weekly. So the 5-day signal over here is similar to the prior one that we just observed on the 2-day, except for a couple differences. One, for the volatility component, we're going to be using the BBWP indicator, which I quite love. And then also two, it is a 5-day time frame. So holds more weight than a 2-day, you know. And this is the thing. The 5-day BBWP, anytime that we've seen it get down to extreme lows, which are defined as basically, you know, 15 percentile or lower, the expansion phase from those extreme lows has led to an average move of 42.35%. So a little bit bigger than, you know, actually quite comparable with the 2-day signal, which is rather interesting. The average days taken, about a month and a half, 37 days almost. The standard deviation was 7.07. So that means that the first standard deviation brings us between about 35 and a quarter to all the way up to almost 50 or 49.5% almost. So that is rather nasty. Anyways, this one again is closing tonight, obviously. So why am I bringing this up? Well, first things first, we're going to get, this one already does have a positive slope on the 5-day BBWP. I do not confirm that. I do not consider that as a confirmed signal just yet. I want to see it both above the moving average, with both of them actually having a positive slope. That would be the full-on confirmation. But for right now, I mean, you know, you're in kind of a precarious place right here, and yeah, it can kind of do a touch and go and then lift off, as you have seen before. But it is building up. And then on top of that, if we go down here to the stochastic component, a couple things going on. First and foremost, upon closure tonight, anywhere below 21,100 or so, we will see the 5-day stochastic momentum oscillator turn to the downside right at the edge of the bearish control zone right here, which is where you do kind of expect a rejection if bears are going to continue to take control, which, as of the past few days, seems somewhat likely. And so again, as long as Bitcoin closes below there tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern time, well, this will officially cross to the downside. It will also be playing out a trendline regression rejection over here, you know, close enough in this case. I mean, technically it should be like between those two peaks, which doesn't need to be perfect in these cases, but ultimately, those two things kind of confluence with each other. I would be saying that, hey, the second that we start to see true volatility expansion on this time frame, which again, I would argue does not happen just yet. I do think that this one's actually going to take some time basing. We probably won't see it start to expand this week, but like something like that maybe. Well, as long as Bitcoin is below this threshold right here, probabilities will remain to the downside if we do see expansion. And obviously shaving off that amount over the next month and a week or so would put us into the end of September, actually, literally the end of September. So again, on the lower end, we have seen as small as move as 29%, which is rather interesting as well here. That is also to be accompanied by the hidden bearish divergence call that we put out. I mean, this was like middle of August now. If we go to here to the 5-day, hidden bearish divergence was obviously confirmed on spot price action. I would argue heavily that we've already seen the easy move of that play out. The next move would be basically down around, the current lows, and then obviously break below there, well, significantly new lows most likely. But for right now, at some point this will very likely create bullish divergence, but not right now. I mean, until we actually have two consecutive lows with each other, that is obviously not even relevant to be speaking about. So I'll get off that topic for right now, go back on over here, and then bring it on into the September chart. So here's where things get, or actually before we go into the September chart, let's go over here. I also did want to point out for the weekly stochastic momentum oscillator, we will see it cross to the downside for the first time since about July, when this rally really started to be getting going. If Bitcoin closed below 20,165, which right now it's below, it's like about $100, which is nothing. So it's not like a death sentence right now. Obviously, $21,000 kind of the big area for me to be watching. Basically, I could sum up this whole fucking video by saying, hey, as long as Bitcoin's below $21,000, risk remains to the downside, and that's kind of like my major area for the higher term timeframes. All right, so let's go back on over here. Let's get into the September analysis. So September is coming up. We are, let me see. 3 days away from it. We will tick into September 1st on Thursday the 1st. And oh my God. Okay, so my birthday is actually September 2nd. I don't give a fuck about that. But the new Lord of the Rings is going to be September 2nd. I couldn't be more fucking excited, man. Couldn't be more fucking excited. I just finished The Children of Hurin over here yesterday, pretty much all in one go. I literally read the whole fucking thing in one day. It was amazing. I had a great time actually while Elsa was, well, doing Elsa things. Anyways, okay, cool. So what is this analysis? Well, the interesting thing about September for Bitcoin specifically is that it doesn't really seem to like it. And this is not just for Bitcoin. This is also traditional markets as well. And by extension, the rest of the cryptocurrency market, because it's just, it's kind of like a little peon following all the leaders there. But what have we observed? 9 out of 13 Septembers have basically been down months. 11 out of 13 have been a down or a range. So that means that 2 extra of those months were basically like kind of, unchanged really. I mean, nothing really happened. And then 2 months actually did close, decently green, I would say. Those 2 months were way back on over here. Now, before I get to this next point, of which, actually, let's get to the next point first. So the average down for those downside months was about 28.54%. Standard deviation 12.19. So that means that the first standard deviation is about 16.35 to 40.73. Before I get to what's probably going to be the biggest critique of this portion of the analysis, I should address this. So I'm sure that a lot of people are going to say this. Krown, don't you know it's midterms? Midterms are bullish. Bullish all over my asshole. Fuck yeah, man. We're going to the moon today, tomorrow. No, September. Maybe. Let's see how that worked out in the last midterm. September 2020. Where's that one? Oh, fuck me, man. What the hell? Bullish my asshole. Is fucking bullish afterwards. Yes, it was. But not in September. What about September 2008? No, motherfucker! Again! 17.71%? Are you kidding me? September 2016, actually green. September 2014, no! Bastard! Again! 28.24? Fuck! This time's going to be different. All right, again, we're talking about statistics, not fucking certainties here, but well, there's that. So it obviously completely depends upon where we close this month of August in the next few days before applying the potential average moves to the downside here. But I would say that statistically speaking, not on the same side of it. And obviously that would, put Bitcoin, well, I mean, it depends again where we close this month, but assuming that we close anywhere reasonably below about $21,000, that would definitely put Bitcoin below $17,000. So I can't really take like average moves just yet because it's just not going to make sense, but I do want to just kind of bring that up for now. As something that we'll talk about again when the new month obviously happens in September, because that will hopefully happen. Anyways, moving on now. The next thing for the monthly as we come into September is this. The accumulation distribution indicator. So this indicator right here, I do quite like for long-term macro lows. Basically, we've never seen a macro low without Bitcoin getting down to this green horizontal bar that my cursor is currently on. Yes, the first one is a little bit kind of iffy there, but Bitcoin was a little bit too young for that indicator to really register, correctly, at least my opinion. In this case, obviously, we are still, we're getting pretty damn close to it. Bless you, sir. We're getting pretty damn close to it. Yes, so. Could we be putting in a major low somewhere around end of September or going into October? Yeah, I think that's possible. I think best case scenario, Bitcoin sees a low like October, November, like best case scenario with full hopium included. Yeah. Anyways, if we are looking at this indicator in its entirety, anytime that it does turn red, what should I say about this? Yeah, anytime that it does turn red is when we kind of expect that macro correction to be happening, and then the lows found somewhere reasonably close to this green horizontal bar. So if we were to take a measurement from when the time it turns red on price action to the next low, and then well, draw the percentages for that, it is interesting to find that the average correction is about 61.34% from that time given, which in this current iteration happened in May. If we were to apply that average correction, which again, it's an average, with not many iterations as well, so this is probably the one that I trust the least right now, that would put Bitcoin somewhere around like $15,500, which, you know, give or take, probably like $1,000 from there makes sense. So again, kind of giving some areas of interest to the downside. Other than that, I don't really have too much else actually. You know, when it comes to the short term, I really don't want to get into that into this video. The shortest term that I'll really address right now is $21,000. Basically, as long as Bitcoin's below $21,000, risk remains to the downside. Above $21,000, yeah, you probably got one more rally towards like 23 to 25 to 23 and a half. But it's really going to depend upon where, one, this chart opens up today. If this one starts to see expansion, it's probably going to have spillover effects into the 5-day, which then has spillover effects into the monthly, which then has spillover effects into, you know, the next thing, and so on and so forth, obviously. So this is really the big one to be watching right now. If we do see this one really confirm the downside signal, at that point, again, statistics not certainties, but a lot more likely to trade to the downside, and things can get quite nasty into September. So I would be cognizant of that, and we'll update on this tomorrow to see if that actually does get confirmed. If it does, then great. If it doesn't, then maybe also great. I don't know. And we'll come back after that. So with all of that said, I want to be wishing you well. I want to be wishing you the best and the happiest. As always, take care, much love, and see you hopefully soon.